tātou. Si'i o te ofa, mahalo e tau lava, mahalo le soifua, tālofa lava. Greetings to everyone here today. I acknowledge the indigenous people of this land and tangata whenua of Aotearoa New Zealand, the land in which I was born and raised. I greet you with the languages of my ancestors, who I bring with me today, and the many hopes and dreams of young people whose stories I carry with me. I am privileged to speak about some of our traditional ways of knowing and being that have informed this research on Asi, the presence of the unseen. As a 10-year-old girl, I visited Samoa for the first time, where we all slept together on my grandmother's woven mats on the floor. I woke up in the darkness as I felt an unusual presence, which alerted my grandmother's dogs that started barking and running around the house. I began to cry from fear and anxiety, and was relieved when my father's voice cut through the darkness to ask me if I was okay. He assured me that everything was all right, explaining that the dogs were probably alerting us to the ancestors who were visiting and chasing all the other spirits away who were curious to see us all. That was my earliest experience of feeling the presence of the unseen, and since then I've had other experiences with teaching young people in the artwork that I create, and when I work with other people who have the same values and purpose and focus. So Pacific people make up 8% of Aotearoa New Zealand's population, but 40% of them are mixed, or of mixed heritage, like myself and the students that I teach. So I use the word Oceanic rather than Pacific. The Oceanic population is youthful, with over half of us being under 25 years old, not me. Unlike people born and raised in the Pacific though, who are embedded in their cultures, these young people, because they are in between the two worlds, they suffer from higher rates of mental health issues. So I started reflecting about the students that I teach in my class and wrote some reflections about this. So I teach in schools that have opportunities, even more opportunities than I had growing up. When they flow through the gates, some look like me from many years ago, being dropped off by a parent who is sleep deprived and irritable from working night shifts to make ends meet. I take these kids to festivals, glorified picnics, my colleagues call them, but I'ma take them so that they can hear their stories being told through poetry, sound, and dance from cultures less bleached, given voice, proud and raw in the world. These are the kids who join the cultural, arts, and even sporting groups after school. The ones who stay to create from the center of their lives. Whaiva, whaiva, woven like fine mats, beaten like ngatu, voices melding together, sustained by choirs from family gatherings and whaikawa. These are the kids from in between. voices finding connection. The Fiapalangi, the plastic Polynesians, Apagasi, half-castes, they belong to each other. So, drawing upon my parents' cultures, my mother is Tongan, and in her language, whaiva means creative performances, which combines poetry, sound, and movement. My father was from Samoa and also had Chinese ancestry. And in Samoa, the word whaiva literally translates to making space. And there is a saying, ia teo lewa, or nurture the space between. However, this is not just empty space, but a relational one, normally referring to the va between people, people and the land, people and the worlds around them. So when we make creative performance or nurture our relationships with the willingness to work in harmony while being open to learning, it is inevitable that warmth and beauty will come through and asi to be seen, felt and experienced. So in here you can see a traditional Tongan performance called Tau Olunga, which means to attain the heavens. In this family celebration, people have come together in a harmonious exchange, and through openness to learning, the girls perform whaiva, which combine poetry, sound and movement. Others join into the performance behind them in support, so that beauty and warmth becomes visible to all who are present. Through this project, I worked with so many people, but these guys up here, they were my core research group. As you can see, not all of them were Oceanic, but the ones who weren't resonated with what we were doing. And we became the whaiva creatives. Although living far from our ancestral homelands, we wanted to make present their essence in our lives. So from working so closely with these young people, I understood that in the world where I teach, young people are complex, and like all of us, they are made of light and shadow. Life is a performance. The world is their stage. They are constantly negotiating space to make sense of their lives, to asi, to rise. So I'm going to share with you a couple of pieces of work that we created together. And in this first example of contemporary whaiva, the students and I engaged in conversation about what it was like to be a student today. They spoke of pressures to balance school and work. A lot of them had part-time jobs. Some of them had almost full-time jobs. And also high family expectation. So I wrote some poetry and presented it back to my students, and they responded by wanting to make a music video. So some students worked on sound and lighting, another produced the choreography and performed it himself. And then also we asked other people who had more expertise in video and photography to help us create the piece of work. So firstly, I will share with you the poem that I wrote, and then also the work that they made. Exploding light. In a concrete world, where aches and pains are now pushed aside, pride takes control of his limbs. In motion, he is frickin' fearless. Feet skimming the ground, solid yet fragile, he is a conqueror of worlds. Through troubled relationships and school books piled high, the tyranny of success becomes as chalk, dust beaten to nothing by the rhythm of his feet. He pounds out frustrations, angry, bitter, sad, and with sudden fire in the light, he crumples to the ground and with heaving breath releases pain. Cracks in his world reveal the divine in him, his heart, his body, his spirit. He is illuminating. The second example of contemporary whaiva was inspired by students from an all-boys school. There I noticed that many of them came from challenging backgrounds, but through it all, they still turned up to class in the pursuit of a better life. Again, I presented back poems to the whaiva creatives, and through talanoa, or discussion, they spoke of challenges that they have faced or know that others have faced and that should be brought to light. Together, we brainstormed heleaki, or concepts, metaphors, that could become a spoken word whaiva. And so, together, this is what we created for that. He is a young man rising, cooler than cool. Hair slicked back, woolen jumper on a hot day, hiding bruises from the night before. Working before school to help make ends meet. He is only 15, the eldest of 6, carrying burdens that don't even belong to him. He walks quickly, late to school. He'll get detention again, but when they ask his name, he'll give another boy's just to keep a low profile. Tired, serious, he tries his best to absorb numbers, countries, verbs, and sonnets, promises for a ticket out of his life. Stomach rumbling, he unwraps jam sandwiches he's made the night before. They're already curling at the edges because they're so stale. Sorry. He's a pretty boy, but cold, unresponsive to the family member who lives at home, who tries to touch him. But he says nothing. He tries to be a good boy to his parents. He tries to be a good role model to his siblings. He tries to be a good student, but he is failing at everything. Silence, suppressing, shame. He is melting away. Apologies, the video didn't play. In the last example of contemporary whaipa, my role was more of a supporter of these young students, and I supported by helping with the other parents to contribute with fundraising efforts, and also just encouraging them to be the best that they can. Students were briefed on singing of gratitude and hope for all young people like themselves. Especially with all that is going on in the world around them, I know that I have spoken with many different students in my classes, and the things that they're so concerned about is, are we even going to have a world to live in? What about all the other kids who are going through war and destruction? So, sorry, I hope this short video can give you a sense of the energy that they were trying to, well, in response to all that was going around them, sorry. Man, I'm doing a terrible job at this.
You are not. You're doing a wonderful job.
Okay, play video. Okay, here it goes. Turn it up a bit, please. It's okay.
The sources are very high.
So from that video, hopefully you can see that from our collaborative creations, that asi, or the ability to sense the presence of the unseen, doesn't only exist in the climax of a performance. It's all through the performance. It's woven throughout the whole creating process. All teachers, coaches, youth workers that were involved in this research agree that in every favour they facilitate with young people, it is always their aim to attain the heavens and to feel a sense of agency, belonging and connection, not only with the work but also with themselves and each other, with their audience and communities, and with the unseen world, bringing pride and honour to all. Ka tai lewa, mole ana noa.